Alright, welcome to segment number 7, and check out my t-shirt. Faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. And this is from Matthew chapter 17, verse 20 in the Holy Bible. And I am Muslim. I am a Muslim. Am I afraid to wear a Bible quote t-shirt? No, I love the t-shirt. Powerful quotation. Okay? What's even more powerful is verse 21. Everybody knows verse 20. Everybody knows this quotation. But what does verse 21 say? I'm waiting. Yes? Don't know. Ah, one person knows. I heard him. Okay, so verse 21 says, "But this cannot be done without prayers and fasting." Faith without prayers and without fasting doesn't happen. Okay? You cannot say, I have all the faith in the world, but I don't pray or I don't fast. So, verse 21 backs up verse 20. Alright? Go look them up and print them out, 20 and 21. Put it up on your wall so that you can remind yourself. Alright? So now, let's get to the audio and play it.
So whose job is it to interpret this hadith? Whose job is it to reconcile this hadith? It is not your duty, it is not my duty. Imam Tirmidhi rahimahullah ta'ala, who compiled one of the 6 major compilations of hadith, canonical works we call it. We call it that, you know. He says, after mentioning one narration, he says, هكذا قال الفقهاء وهم أعلموا بمعاني الحديث. After mentioning the ruling, he reminds me and you. He says, this is what the fuqaha, the jurists, not any alim. Within or amongst the ulama, you get jurists, specialist people. He says, هكذا قال العلماء, this is what the fuqaha, هكذا قال الفقهاء. This is what the fuqaha is the plural of a faqih, a jurist. This is what they are saying. Then he says, وَهُمْ أَعْلَمُ بِمَعَانِ الْحَدِيثِ. They are the most knowledgeable people with regards to the meaning of hadith. So now we know who are the most knowledgeable people of hadith. The first hadith I have mentioned, La Adwa. What? That only that word. And then the Arabi Bedouin came and says, Ya Rasulullah, you're saying there's no contagion. But what happens to our camels, our healthy camels? They mix with unhealthy camels and then they become sick. Then Rasulullah responded, فَمَنْ أَعْدَى الْأَوَّلِ. Then who gave infection to the first camel? Meaning that where did the virus or the sickness, the synonym for virus is illness and sickness or disease. Where did that come from? So what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did in this particular hadith, I'm going to reconcile all this for you. Reconcile means I'm going to show you that there's no real contradiction. In this particular hadith, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about no contagion, remember your assignment is to read up the difference between contagion and infectious. That is your assignment. That is your job. You know, there won't be marking of papers because of that. You're all going to Google this, isn't it? So Google become the Grand Mufti. Sheikh Google. Well, Sheikh Google here, the Grand Mufti. So Rasulullah here is saying that there's no contagion. But what does it mean? This was to dispel the belief of the people of Jahiliyyah. The people of Jahiliyyah believed that disease had the ability to move and infect on its own. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, he negated that, he eradicated that belief. And he told them basically that it cannot do that on its own. It can only do that with the irada and mashiyah of Allah, with the word and permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So,
Thomas Aquinas, he said, "He who is not angry when there is just cause for anger is immoral." Why? Because anger looks to the good of justice. And if you can live amid injustice without anger, then you are immoral as well as unjust. Very powerful words. Okay? Some of you may question me and say, "Master Ali, relax. Why are you getting angry? Why are you raising your blood pressure? Just cool." It's not so simple. Okay? It is not so simple. This explains why. Now, he mentioned the word fuqaha, and he mentioned what they are, but just for my non-Muslim brothers and sisters who may be watching this video, this is the translation. This is from Google. Okay, but anyway, it's translated as jurist, legal scholar, or expert in Islamic law. So, our Mr. Mufti is saying it is these people's job to reconcile all the hadith. It's not his job. That is what he's telling you. Alright, anyway, let's move on. So, my commentary, and I have just shown you that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, never said those words. No contagious disease is conveyed without Allah's permission. Okay? So the scholars have accepted to add those additional words, like what this Mr. Mufti is telling you right now. However, I do not accept that, because those words are wrong. Now, Mr. Mufti, you don't have a clue what you're talking about and why you're saying it, because you don't understand the electrical nature of her body. You don't understand sickness. And the reason why you don't understand it is because you are influenced by your associates called medical doctors who don't understand it either. So let's discuss this deeper. And I want to discuss it because I want you to understand why I disagree with these words. Now understand, everything, everywhere happens with the permission of Allah. Okay, what Allah says will happen. What He says, what He does not say, will not happen. Okay, now that is different from what I'm talking about here. Now, I'll give you an example, and Mr. Mufti is going to give you another example with one man with a household of 10 people, and 5 got sick and 5 did not get sick. Alright? But anyway, I'm going to make it simple, and I'm going to say, let's say me and my wife. Okay? I get fever, and then I have a cough or runny nose, and then my wife doesn't get sick. And this is what these scholars are saying. I got sick because Allah willed for me to get sick. And Allah willed for my wife not to get sick. Now, that is nonsense. That is nonsense. Now I'm going to explain how sickness works. In my book, section 2, I talk about something that I conned as labeled as natural body detoxing. Now, what is very important, and what Mr. Mufti needs to understand, and if he spent the time to read my book like I asked him to, I would not have to waste my time to educate him a second time. And this is the last time that I will educate you, Mr. Mufti. Period. So now, for the rest of you who are patiently listening and who want to learn, everybody, every male, woman, child, baby on our realm, our flat earth gets sick. To say that one person gets sick and another person does not get sick is a lie. God created us that we all detox our bodies. During this detoxification process, we will go through 2 stages. Your medical association uses words as the flu and colds, and these 2 words confuses everybody. I grew up in Canada. I was raised in Canada, spent 35 years in Canada, and they always talk about colds and flus, and you ask any Canadian person what's the difference, they don't know. Do I have the cold? Do I have the flu? Symptoms are very similar. But anyway, I'm going to explain it to you right now. And this is going to get very deep here. Okay? And then when you go back and you read my book, it will become more clear as well. Okay? Now, so every single man, woman, and child gets sick. This is the way that God created us. Now, for you to say that you do not get sick is wrong. Okay? Because you do. Now, maybe you live a healthy lifestyle. You drink a lot of water. You exercise. You eat right. Okay? You don't smoke. You don't drink. You don't do all that stuff. You don't eat junk food and all that stuff. And you don't have colds. You don't have runny noses. You don't go through those things. Okay? But it does not mean that you do not get sick. Okay? But let me just explain something first. Okay, to the people who do appear sick. What's happening is that your body develops fever. Okay, and during this is what I call stage 1. During stage 1, your body will develop fever. Okay? And what's happening is that your body is developing a plan. I shouldn't say your body, I should say your immune system. Your immune system is now scanning your body for anything foreign, toxins, stuff like that it wants to eliminate. Okay, it's scanning. You know, like a scanner on a inkjet printer. You know, the scanner, how the light goes through. Okay, the body is scanning you, and what it's doing during that scanning phase, it'll put you into a mode called fever. Now, the first thing that whenever you have fever, you want to stop eating. You don't want to eat because our bodies are not designed to multitask. Our soul, our spirit, is capable of multitasking. The body is not. It can only do one job at a time. And if you try to push more than one job at a time on your body, it won't be able to handle it. So either you're eating food, and what's going to happen, the healing system will turn off. You cannot afford to have that happen. Okay? Because then your stage 2 may be longer and we're dragged out. Okay, and you can understand why maybe some people have 2-3 weeks of heavy coughing and end up going to the hospital and never leaving the hospital. So in your stage 1, don't eat. You have fever, don't eat. What you want to do is you want to put on, if you're in Canada, you have a toque, put on your toque, put on a sweater, put on pants, put on socks, get under a blanket or a comforter, and raise your body temperature. If you've got an air conditioning unit or a fan, turn those off. You want to get hot. Okay? And these fever medication, what they do is actually reduce the fever. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to stop the fever. And I'll explain why in a little while, just now. Give me a chance. Now, so you want to raise your body temperature, and all this BS that your brain will explode because of high temperature is just garbage. Medical science garbage. And any doctor wants to argue with me that raising your body temperature is going to explode your brain, I will say you are a jackass. And the curse of Almighty God be upon you. And let me explain why I say that. God designed our body perfectly. God says in the Bible, God says in the Quran, He created everything in perfection. That includes us. Now, to say that our body will raise its body temperature to the point that it'll blow our brain is saying to me, to you, that God did not create us perfectly. Do you understand the danger of what you're saying, Mr. Mufti, Mr. Doctors, everybody? So this garbage science from the medical establishment is garbage. God created us perfectly. Believe in that. Your brain will never explode. They show this garbage on the movies. People become brainwashed. Oh my God, I have fever. I got to bring it down. I got to put a cold pad. I got to put a towel on my head. Your fever is getting very, 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 very high. Very high. Need to lower the fever. No. The worst thing to do is lower the fever. The worst thing to do is lower the fever. By all saying, you want to raise the fever. You want to raise the body's temperature by keeping warm. Then the body can finish its plan. It's making a plan. And then when it's done, the plan, actually there's more to that as well. But I'm not going to give you all that full details. You have to go read my book. But anyway, once the body, the immune system is done the plan, the fever will break. You will sweat. And then naturally, you will want to eat. Now, some of you may start to think and connect the dots. Generally, when I have fever, if my wife comes to me and says, hey, here's a steak. Oh, I don't want to eat. I don't want to eat. Take it away, take it away. You automatically don't want to eat. But what is very important is for you to drink water. That's all you need. Just drink water. But good quality electrical water. Now, what do I mean by that? Read my book. Now, so during stage 1, you want to raise the fever, drink water, no food. And even the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Mr. Mufti can confirm this, he said in a hadith as well, that when you have fever, puasa. Puasa means fast. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Puasa is Bahasa Malaysia. Okay. Saum. Saum, I think, is Arabic. Is fasting in Arabic. My brain is thinking Bahasa Malaysia. I'm not Malaysian. I live in Malaysia with my family, but I'm Canadian. So anyway, my brain was thinking Bahasa Malaysia, which is puasa, fasting. So the Prophet even said fasting. And so many people say that give me any sickness and you put fasting, the sickness will go away. Doesn't matter. Fasting is very important. What about Matthew? Verse 21, prayers and fasting. Fasting. Fasting is very important when you're sick. Okay? So now, when your fever breaks, you're going to sweat, and then you're going to be, I'll be saying, Mas, which is my wife, her name is Mas, I'm hungry. Can you bring me some bread or tea? I want to eat now. I'm tired, drained, right? So, and usually the fever stage will be could be 24 hours, could be 48 hours. Okay? Now, and then sometimes the fever will stop, and then the next day comes back. Or prolongs to 72 hours. There's a reason for that. And it's in my book. Okay? So anyway, now let's get to stage 2. Stage 2, the body has now designed the plan. It now needs to implement the plan. And now your body will basically want to cleanse out what it doesn't want. By runny nose, coughing, maybe sneezing, all those different things. Okay? And again, the last thing, the worst thing to do is take cough medication to cut that out. That's the worst thing to do. Now, I'm going to come back to all this, okay, in another segment, okay, because I don't want to take up too much time in this video, but anyway, I want to go back to these words. So the way God designed us is every single man, woman, child on this flat earth gets sick. So to say that you get sick and your wife doesn't get sick because of the permission of Allah does not make sense. It is wrong to say that, because that is not the way it works. So whoever, the scholar that added these words in brackets, is wrong. And every single Mufti, including our Mr. Mufti, who's using these words, are wrong. Because that is not the way it works. That is not the way the body works. Doctors will tell you contrary because they're stupid idiots. They're flies. They're medical, university, graduated, garbage science. And in my book, I give you very good, knowledgeable people that tell you the truth. All this, actually, I'm not the one telling you all these things. In my book, I give you all the people who are very, very knowledgeable, more knowledgeable than me, but are telling you how the body works. And what I did, I connected his information, her information, that person's information, and I made all the pieces of the puzzle that you can understand it. I connected all the dots. I eliminated the falsehood from this person and that person and took the truth in what they're saying, and I connected everything together. And I use a lot of the Hadith of the Prophet in our book. And speaking of Hadith, just now, the Mufti, Mr. Mufti, mentioned about the Bedouin who went to the Prophet and said, okay, you say there's no adwa, there's no contagion, we don't make each other sick. Then what about when the other camels get sick from the one camel? So the Prophet said, well, who made the first camel sick? And the explanation by Mr. Mufti is that the first camel got sick because of the will of Allah, and that's wrong. Every man, woman, and child and animal detox, but they detox on a different level. Do you understand? So for now, don't blow up your head by adding how camels detox. That's stupid. Figure out and understand how you as a human detox. Is that more important to you? Or trying to figure out how does a camel detox itself? Is that relevant to you? No. So I'm not going to focus on that, but it's the same concept. Okay, during this pandemic, all this garbage from China and the market, and one person got sick and spread it to the next person, then how did the guy in Africa who has no access to airlines, airports, he stays in a tribe, but he also gets fever? And how does everybody all get sick at the same time? Has nothing to do with any contagions or viruses and all that garbage and BS. Section 2 of my health book is very important for you to read. I'm going to come back to the health book again, but anyway, my health book, the way I designed my book, I categorize sickness into two categories. The first category is what I call natural body detoxing, and the second category is called chronic sicknesses. And I explain the differences between the two, and I explain what is happening and how the body heals itself. Okay, and I explain a lot more. A lot more. Okay, I actually use the Islamic model of healing where you heal the mind, the body, the heart, and the soul. 4 entities. The medical establishment just wants to heal your body. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's why people are not getting better. They have problems with their heart, problems with the mind, maybe some issues with their soul. You need to look at all 4. That is the Islamic model. And I based my health book around that model. I advise you how to heal all 4 entities. That is how you restore the balance to your body. People are more sick today because the body is all unbalanced. All 4 of those things are all unbalanced. That's why people are having so much problems. And our scholars don't give any proper advice how to restore the balance. And the scholars just throw the I don't know what the expression is. The scholars just pass the buck. Okay? For North American people will understand that. They pass the buck to the doctors. And the doctors, their education is corrupted. The medical establishment is corrupted. And like the video by Dr. Paul Malik there at the beginning, the medical establishment, the medical system is a hoax. Alright? I'm not saying this. He is telling you. But I agree with him 100%. So, stage 1, stage 2. Now, I'm going to give you another analogy here. Okay, let's say I am designing, I'm an architect. Okay, so I want to help make you understand stage 1. I'm an architect. And you contact me to build you a house. Okay, but what I do, let's say I'm going to give you different scenarios here so you can understand very clearly. I build the whole house, I put everything on paper, everything all properly, everything done, and then do I build the house? No. Stage 2, call the contractors, the builders. I give them all the paperwork, all the plans, all the layouts. They know what to do. They build the house using all the right materials, everything proper, everything all good. The house is beautiful. There's no cracks. There's no nonsense. It's beautiful. The house is perfect. Everything is great. Let me give you another analogy, another scenario. I'm the architecture. I design the plan, but I only draw half of the house. And I say to the contractors, the builders, I build half, I design half, now I want you to build the whole thing though. You figure out what the other half would look like. So the contractor is thinking, wow, let me just kamikaze it and make it whatever I can make it. Do you think the house will be nice and structured? Remember, the builders are not architects. They follow the plan. But if the plan is not correct, do you think the house will be structurally sound? No. So, I'll give you another scenario now. You've got the architect. Design everything. Finish it perfectly on the paper. Gives it to the contractors, the builders, to now build the house. But they use cheap materials. They skimp on cement. The way they mix the sanding. They use cheap paint. They use cheap quality doors and furnishings and stuff like that. Do you think the house will be nice? Is it going to last a long time? No. The roof may collapse. The carport may have problems, get leaking. The paint will start to fade after a few months. The doors may start to make sounds, all these things. So this is how our body is working. Can you connect the dots from what I just said? So, if the architectural plan is perfect, some idiot on a motorcycle in front of my house. Sorry. So if the architectural plan is perfect and the contractors, the builders design the perfect house, everything runs perfectly. And that is when you take no medication. Now, during the architectural design phase, you take fever medication. The body will design half the plan. The immune system will design half of the plan. And you're giving half of the plan to the contractors, and they got to figure out what to do and what to finish. Or the architect designs the proper plan, gives it to the contractors, the builders, but the builders are taking cough medication and congestion medication and stuffy nose medication and runny nose medication, all that garbage, and they use cheap quality, inferior materials, and the house is sloppy. Do you understand now? Think about those scenarios. That is why even Dr. Paul said, when you're sick, don't go to the hospital. Don't see a doctor. This is the thing why I'm trying to educate people on the truth. Okay? Now, I'm going to stop here because actually I'm going to come back to some of these things a little bit further on. Alright? So, let's see you in the next segment.